Hi, I'm Pamela Davis, back with you now for part 3 on ghosts and other dimensions as a segment of the Reincarnation Chronicle. And we're looking at ghosts and what causes a ghost. And this is basically for the haunting ghosts an issue of attachment. And we're kind of examining the kinds of attachment that will create um, a grounding issue for ghosts, an attaching issue. And I have the experience of having lived in 3 haunted houses, and now we're going to talk about the third one. And this happened in a house that I was renting in another part of Los Angeles a number of years ago. My children were young, they were in their teens. And we had not paid very much attention to odd noises in the house because we had no reason to suspect anything strange was happening, and there were always quite a number of people around. There were my kids, sometimes friends, the housekeeper, and so on. So I don't know, I think we just weren't really paying attention until one night. The housekeeper was gone. She was not in the house. I think it was a weekend night. And my children were with me in my master bedroom, which was downstairs, just very close to the front door. And they were sitting with me on my bed, and we were all watching a PBS presentation. I'll never forget it. Yanni doing a concert at the Acropolis in Athens. And for some reason, I had locked the door of the bedroom. And I don't remember if I always did that or if I had a reason that night to lock the bedroom door, but it was locked. And we were watching this presentation. It wasn't late at night at all. And at one point, all 3 of us could see the handle of the bedroom door turn. Obviously somebody on the other side turning the doorknob, trying to get into the bedroom. Well, we froze. I just thought, oh no, an intruder in the house, and and with children. So immediately I called 911 and got a policewoman on the phone who said, all right, you stay with me. You know how they do. Is everybody with you? Are you secure where you are? Just stay on the phone with me. We've got people on the way. And it was amazing. Really, within like 3 minutes, there was a helicopter over the house. Within 5 or 6 minutes, she said, now we've got the police are arriving. They're in front of the house now. She said they're surrounding the house. Do you feel safe going out of your bedroom and opening the front door? So I said, well, yeah, if they're all outside. So I opened up the front door and let these giant RoboCops into the house. They looked to me to be huge, like 6'7" or something, roaring into the house with guns drawn, just like an army of them swarming over the house and looking in cabinets which were smaller than a dwarf could get into, and under beds and into closets and all through the garage. And they came back and they said, well, we're sorry, but we can't find any sign of a break-in at all. And I thought, oh no, this is really embarrassing. So they said, yeah, we looked outside the house, and there are no marks of anybody trying to get into the marks in the mud that would indicate they were trying to come up through a window. Nothing. And I said, well, thank you very much. I'm really sorry to have bothered you. I mean, such a force came out. It was amazing. And then all for nothing. Thank God it was nothing, but nevertheless, I felt very confused. It wasn't long after that the realtor who had found the house for us came over. I don't remember why she was there, but we were talking. We were sitting out by the pool, and just shooting the breeze, basically. And she said, the owner of this house has had some real tragedy in her life. And I said, oh yeah, well, what happened? Well, she said, her mother and father used to live in this house, and her poor mother became very ill and eventually died with cancer. And the father, he moved out of the house and went to another house very close by, about a mile from here. And while he was living in that house, his son, the brother of the homeowner, was released from prison and promptly came to find his father, confronted him in the garage of that house, and shot him dead. Well, I was horrified. The poor man had been murdered by his son in another house a mile from where I was living. But then I thought, well, maybe that explains these incidents that we'd been having, because in the past few months we'd been hearing more and more footsteps upstairs when nobody was there, doors opening and closing. And one day the last straw was when the housekeeper I walked into the house one day, and right by the front door there was this long braid of garlic hanging. This is not the kind of decor that I would normally have put by the front door. Long braid of fresh garlic hanging by the door. So I said, Vicky, what is this? And she said, oh, Senora. She said, I'm so sorry. I said, well, have you been, is this about the footsteps? And she said, oh, you've been hearing it too. And I said, well, yeah, but I hadn't wanted, because I knew she was very superstitious and kind of afraid. I hadn't wanted to bring it up to her. I didn't want to scare her to death. And she had, for the same reason, she had not mentioned anything to me. She just thought she could probably take care of it with the braid of garlic. Well, in any case, we had to bring somebody in at that point. What we realized was that it was the older man who had been murdered, who was undoubtedly, he and his wife had lived in the house a long time. And he was undoubtedly returning to the house. And the night that he was trying to get into the bedroom where we saw the doorknob turning, he was undoubtedly trying to get into the bedroom to find his wife, who had died in that house, and a wife that he had loved very much. Now, what happens in a case like this, this is a kind of attachment due to love, but also to a confusion of, probably because he was abruptly and brutally murdered by his son, he probably also had a certain amount of disassociation going on, which often happens with ghosts. They don't know that they're dead, and they are in a state of genuine confusion, unable to move on, and not understanding where they are or what's going on. So I'm sure that in his case, he was coming back to find her, not knowing that she was not there. She had already transitioned. And so we arranged for him to have the peace and reassurance of being able to transition and find her on the other side. So this kind of thing where people come back to find those that they love is a very common occurrence when you have people, especially soldiers who die in wartime. This was very common during World War II and the Korean War, when pilots were shot out of the air so abruptly, that there was nothing left, no remains. They were just blown up so fast in their airplanes that they didn't know literally what had hit them. And then soldiers too, who will inadvertently step on a landmine or be in the path of a rocket that just blows everything up so fast. And this kind of very violent and abrupt death is what will often create the attachment of the soldier that will come and try to find, especially wives. We're finding that wives and girlfriends, mothers and fathers, would see apparitions at their bedside, often in the middle of the night, but not always. The apparition of the loved one, often a son or a husband. And then they would get the telegram, so a little bit later, or somebody would come to the house to tell them that their loved one was dead. And they would compare the time that they had seen their son or their husband, who had come to try to tell them that he had gone, or that actually what they do is they come to say, "I'm okay," without the person that they're visiting realizing that there's a reason for them to be saying this, because they're okay, because even though they're not in their body, they're still, they're still conscious, they still have volitional movement. So there's confusion. There's also the desire to find those that they love and reassure them that, that they may have lost their physical lives, but that they are not entirely dead, that they are with them in that presence. And these kinds of visitations are usually a one-time thing. That they don't tend to repeat. I myself have seen a number of people that I knew who passed on, and who came to me within a few hours of their passing to let me know that they were okay. One of the most touching cases of this kind was an old man that I knew who was blind, had been blind for many, many years, and who had terrible teeth problems, and his teeth were so worn down that he couldn't even have false teeth. So he was basically toothless and blind. And then when he passed on from emphysema or something like that, within a couple of hours, as I was brushing my teeth, I saw him behind me in the bathroom mirror, smiling radiantly with bright blue eyes and big teeth, big toothy smile. And what was interesting was that he was a Middle Eastern Jew who, although I never saw his eyes, I assume they must have been brown because everybody else in the family had brown eyes. But when you're on the other side, you can basically fashion yourself to appear as you would like to appear, your most ideal appearance. And if you want brown eyes or blue eyes, and different eyes, and you don't have teeth and you want teeth, you can do that. And you can also appear at the age that you would most like to be seen as. So these are some of the other situations that we've been looking at. Now this one was we're ending our part 3 now, and we're going to go into part 4, looking at different kinds of ghosts and other dimensions. And keep on with us. Bye-bye.